Okay, I'm recording. All right, here we go. So we're going to add a billboard above our building. First of all, principally, a billboard is going to be essentially the same as a window. We're going to add it above the building. So it's going to be like standing on top of the building, and it's going to be slightly more narrow than our original building. So first things first, we're going to start with a vertical line as we always do. I'm going to put my billboard on the left side of my building, so it's going to go to the left vanishing point. I'm going to begin with the vertical line. I'm not going to put it on the corner of my building, but I'm going to slide it in just slightly. And now I'm going to make a vertical line, pretty sizable. Now this vertical line does not line up with the center line, and it doesn't touch the bottom here. As soon as I make my line, I'm going to put a dot at the top and the bottom. That's going to indicate to me that I need to go to the vanishing point. Now I'm going to take my T-square and make it vertical again, slide it in just a little bit and make a guideline. This is going to be where my billboard is going to stop. Next step is to connect the top and the bottom to the vanishing point. So between those two parallel vertical lines, I'm simply going to connect back to the vanishing point. Because this building is pretty close to the vanishing point on the left side, and this point is pretty high, the angle is going to be quite steep. Now I'm going to just retrace my vertical line to make it a little darker. Okay, so right now we have this shape, and it's literally floating above. We need to connect it. So right underneath, I'm just going to add little parallel vertical lines. So 4 parallel vertical lines, but they're going to be in 2 sets of 2. So it looks like it's standing. Well, that's pretty great, but we've only rendered one side, and we're drawing in perspective, and we draw in perspective, we show at least 2 sides. This only shows one side. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to give this billboard a thickness. In order to give it a thickness, the only thing I need to do is just go just outside, and I'm going to make as light as I can a vertical line. So this vertical line is just on the outside of the board. Now if you were drawing on the right side of the building, it would also be closer to the center. Okay, so the line outside would be just closer to the center. Now I'm going to draw it back to the vanishing point. But this time, you might be surprised that I'm going to draw it back to the right vanishing point. So this little tiny section is going to go back to the right vanishing point. That little tiny section, here we go, back to the right vanishing point this side, back to the right vanishing point on that side. Now what that's going to do is it's going to give it a side, but we're not quite done yet. We do see 2 sides, but because of the angle, we would see underneath. That's why I went to the right vanishing point. So this bottom corner is going to go to the left vanishing point on this side. So I'm going to trace it. I'm going to go to the left vanishing point. Every time I hit one of those legs, I'm just going to pick up my pencil and not draw over it. So now we have drawn one side, a second side, and a third side. This third side has a little bit of an opening. So I'm just going to connect this last corner to the vanishing point on the right side now. Okay, now I've connected it. I'm going to take just a second and use my low-tech zoom so you can see all the details. So we started with a vertical line. We put a dot at the top and the bottom. Because it's on the left side of the building, I drew the top and the bottom to the left vanishing point. I also gave myself a bit of a guideline. Then, so that I made it look like it wasn't just floating, I added 2 sets of parallel vertical lines to connect it to the building. On the outside, towards the center of the building, I added a very narrow vertical line. That narrow vertical line is going to become the second side. I took my corner of the narrow rectangle and drew it back to the vanishing point on the opposite side on the right side, creating a second side for the billboard. Because of our point of view, we would see underneath the billboard. To create the underneath side of the billboard, I drew back to the right vanishing point. And finally, this tiny little corner drew back to the left vanishing point. So this shape for a billboard, like everything else in perspective, everything else has lines that are either vertical or to the vanishing points on both sides. our horizontal line is mostly left for going to the horizon and some small exceptions for when you want to draw inside of a building.